Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture on Palo Alto firewalls. In this lecture, we are going to break down the different interface deployment modes available in the Palo Alto firewall. And this will include the tab interface mode, layer 3 mode, layer 2 mode, vWire mode, and the sub interface mode. Now, don't worry if you are coming here and learning for the first time about the interface modes in Palo Alto Networks firewall. I'll keep things simple and easy to follow. Now, before we start, here's what we will cover today. Now, we will have an overview of interface modes. This will include the understanding the layer 2, layer 3, virtual wire and tab modes. And also we'll talk about the sub interface mode. And then also the real world use cases at the end, and also we will have a comparison table between all these types of interfaces. Okay, before diving into each mode, let's first understand what interface modes are. So interface modes define how the firewall interacts with traffic. Choosing the right mode is crucial for the proper network deployment and security. Now think of it like this, like a firewall is like a traffic controller, and that can either route, direct the traffic, or bridge, means connect the networks, or just monitor, which is just observe the traffic. The interface modes determines how it does this job, so which is very crucial. Now understanding the layer 2, layer 3 and the vWire modes. Now, layer 3 mode is one of the most commonly used deployment modes. The firewall acts as like a router, making decisions based on IP addresses. Each interface is assigned an IP address, and the firewall routes traffic between different networks. This is what we have seen as of now in the deployment in the previous videos, and this is what is most commonly used. Now, use cases would be your office network needs to connect to the internet, right, securely, and the firewall routes traffic between the internal network and the external network. And just to show you this, this is the scenario that we are using as of now. So if you go back to the, and let me grab my pen. So what I'm talking about is the north south traffic, right? This is your firewall, which is the case in our lab as well, and it's the north is the your internet, right? This is the internet, and let me grab change the color, internet, and south is basically your internal network. This is a switch, this is your internal network, or you can say the trust. This is the internal network, right? This is the trust zone. So and these interfaces will be having IP addresses. This will be a different subnet, right? And this will be a different subnet. So this is your L3 development, wherein also you can have multiple interfaces. Maybe this is the DMZ, and this is some other zone, or maybe the same zone, because this and this can be in the same zone as well. So this is the trust zone, multiple interfaces. So here you see the deployment of the layer 3 mode, right, which now the firewall also does the job of a router. It will hold a routing table and will do the routing, as well as it can support the all the dynamic routing protocols, as you have seen. All right, so this is what the layer 3 is all about. All right, let's move to the next one, which is the layer 2 mode. In layer 2 mode, the firewall behaves like a network switch. All right, and it does not assign IP addresses, but instead operates at the MAC address level, like just like a switch, and analyzing filtering traffic without changing the network structure. Now in this mode also the traffic can be filtered using the policies, which the normal switch cannot do, but this firewall in layer 2 mode can do. Now what would be the use case of this? Now you want to place a firewall between two networks and network switches without changing the IP address schema. Now this would be one of the use cases here, right? So you have already a network. Let's say you have a network 1, network 2, I mean same network, maybe it doesn't matter, right? So this is your what do you say, PC on this one, this is your PC on this one. Now these two are connected on the same network. Okay, this is the same 10.1.1.0/24, and this is also the same 10.1.1.0/24. Now the traffic is obviously not controlled here, and anybody on this network, network can reach anybody on this network, right? It's simple, through VLAN, through switching concept. Now tomorrow you want to do what? You want to slide in a Palo Alto firewall in between here. Now you don't want to change these subnets as well. Okay, changing a subnet in a corporate network is a big task, and that's what you don't want to do, and you want to avoid this. So what you can do is you can slide in this Palo Alto firewall in layer 2 mode, and then you don't need to assign any IP addresses here. No IP addresses needed here on these interfaces, only the VLAN assignment. And then you can just apply some policies, security policies, and you can control the traffic based on those security policies. So this is your what? Layer 2 deployment. All right, simple. Good. Then we'll move on to the next one. Next one is the vWire mode. All right. Now vWire, which is also called the virtual wire mode, allows the firewall to sit transparently between two network segments, filtering and monitoring traffic without needing IP addresses. It's useful when you want security without modifying the network structure. I mean, this is just like the layer 2, I would say, but there are some limitations we would see. And if you see the example would be just a company wants to place a firewall between its internal and external networks without reconfiguring the IP. Now in this case you can have different subnets as well. All right, so that's one of the differences. Now the diagram would be simple. You would have what do you say, let me clear this away. Okay, now in this case you would have a network A, and you would have a network B, and you would place this firewall, which would be in a vWire mode. Now this one is also sometimes called as bump in the wire. You might have heard like this, or even called as transparent firewall mode. Now you have the legacy firewall. Most of the legacy firewall have this mode already there. Even the Cisco ASA used to have this and still has this, and also the FortiGate firewalls have this transparent mode. Alright, so you just slide in the firewall here, as in bump in the wire, or transparent, or you can say inline as well. This is one more word that you can use, in inline firewall. You place it there, and then you don't need to make any changes here on this network or on this network. Alright, so this is your vWire mode. Okay, next is the tab interface mode. Now if when we discuss the tab interface mode, this mode allows kind of passive monitoring of your network. The firewall would receive a copy of the traffic, but it does not interfere with the network flow. Now how it works is, it does a traffic duplication. All right, and the firewall listens to the traffic without being part of the data path, and also you can do the monitoring and analysis. Now any administrator can analyze the network traffic for security insights. All right, the what do you say, the uh, tab interface mode is basically One of the use cases would be a security team wants to monitor traffic without affecting the network performance, or you want to do a POC. You have a legacy firewall which you want to move to the next gen firewall, so you would just slide in this next gen firewall as in tap mode, and then analyze the traffic, what kinds of applications are running inside your network, and what sort of rules you will have to create, right, in once you have the firewall onboarded, the next gen firewall, or the migration done. So pre-migration, you can say a POC can be also done with this tab interface mode, right? So let me just explain quickly with a diagram. What you can do is you have a firewall, mm, or you have a network switch, right? Network switch, and then you have a old legacy firewall. Maybe this is a Cisco ASA which you want to migrate to the next gen firewall, and then from here it is going to the world of internet. And then here you have your LAN user. All right, these are all your LAN user. Now what you want to do, maybe you have multiple segments here also, but let's not think about it like that. Let's just keep it simple. Now the users are passing by like this, right? All the users have this data path through the Cisco ASA, through the Cisco ASA. Now there are policies here. Obviously you have the rules, the ACLs over here, but then now you want to slide in the Palo Alto here as in tap interface, sorry, Palo Alto firewall, and this is in tap mode, or this interface is tap mode. So this is a tap interface. What you do now, you configure the monitor session here, and you define on this as the this as the maybe this as the source interface, and this interface as the destination interface. And what will happen at the end is, whatever traffic is going like this, one copy will be created and sent over this network, right? Whatever traffic this guy is receiving will be sent here. Even you can define this as the source, and whatever traffic is coming back will be copied and sent over here. So at the end of the day, the firewall can see all this traffic on the monitoring dashboard, and you can do an analysis of the kind of applications that are being used in the network and the threats that will be taken care, right? So that's how it is, the tap mode. All right, next is the sub interface mode. Sub interface allows multiple logical interfaces on a single physical interface. Each sub interface is assigned to a different VLAN. This you can compare with the router on a stick in the router that we do, right? It's exactly like the same. Now use case would be, a company has multiple departments like HR, IT, sales on the same physical network, but wants to segment traffic for security. Now this is a common practice in the organizations. You have a single physical interface, and then you have multiple VLANs on the switching end and the access layer, right? Obviously, so you create the SVIs kind of stuff on the Palo Alto firewall, which are then bound to the VLANs. So this is simple, right? So if you go to the blackboard, so what you do is you have the Palo Alto firewall, and then you have the switch here, right? Then you have multiple segments. So this is your sales, your HR, your IT, right? These are on different subnets. So subnet means VLANs. So VLAN 30, VLAN 20, and VLAN 10. All right, and then you will create sub interfaces here, right? You will have 1, 2, and 3 VLANs. VLAN 10 here, likewise 20, likewise 30, and this would be kind of a trunk interface. All right, so this is the kind of deployment that sub interface is talking about. Let me erase this. All right, so the next thing is the comparison table. So this is a short comparison of the functionality, IP addressing required on the layer and the layer that it will work on, and does the how does the security policy work. So in layer 2, layer 3 mode, you on the layer 3 mode, basically this one. Wait a second. uh, okay, layer 3 functionality is routing traffic. I mean, it acts as a router, acts as a router, the firewall, and IP addressing is obviously required, and this is a layer 3 mode, and the security policies are based on the what do you say, the IPs. Then on layer 2, this is called the bridging traffic, and IP addresses are not required, works on layer 2 and based on MAC. vWire also, as I said, this is called the transparent filtering. IP addresses are not required, works on layer 2 as the layer 2 mode, and this is also based on MAC. TAP interface, on the other hand, is a passive monitoring functionality, and IP addresses are not required. Layer, I mean, it does not control the data path, so it's just a monitoring thing, and you cannot configure the security policies. Now the sub interfaces that we talked about at the last, they are all based on the VLAN routing. It does do routing, the switch virtual interface, and required per VLAN IP addresses. And then it's also a layer 3, and the security policies will be based on the IP addresses. So let me clean all of this. Right now, to wrap up, let's summarize some real world applications of these modes. Like layer 3 mode, best for your routing between different network segments, as we saw. Layer 2 mode, ideal for inserting a firewall into an existing network without changing IP addresses. And the vWire mode, great for adding security without modifying the network structure. And the tap mode is useful for passive traffic analysis and monitoring. And last but not the least, the subinterface mode is perfect for segmenting network using the VLANs. Now that would be all. Okay, so thank you. In conclusion, you have seen the different interface modes in the Palo Alto firewall, and I hope you have learned something new in this video. And thank you for watching the lecture, and I will see you in the next lecture.